I never believed in God. Not once in my life. Not in childhood. Not in adulthood. Not even in those quiet moments when things went wrong, when most people instinctively whisper a prayer to something. Someone they're not even sure is listening. I never did. I had always seen religion as weakness, a crutch for the feeble-minded, an invention of desperate people who couldn't face the reality of life and death on their own. Science was my God. Logic was my scripture. And I built my life on that foundation with absolute certainty. Whenever someone spoke of Jesus, I scoffed. I rolled my eyes at street preachers, mocked believers at dinner parties, and openly ridiculed anyone who dared suggest there was anything beyond this life. I thought myself enlightened, educated, free. What was life to me? Simple. A collection of moments to enjoy, profits to accumulate, pleasures to chase. There was no judgment coming, no eternal consequence, no invisible set of rules hanging over my head. Morality was relative, and I lived by my own standards, which changed depending on what suited me at the time. I felt no guilt when I lied to get ahead, no remorse when I stepped on others to climb higher, and when my actions hurt people, I justified it all with one cold, familiar thought. Life isn't fair. Get over it. I prided myself on being rational, pragmatic, grounded in the real world. I thought I was free. But now, as I look back, I see it for what it truly was. Not freedom, blindness. The night I died, there were no signs, no warnings, no dramatic premonitions. Just another evening, another day blurred into the next, filled with trivial pursuits and empty satisfaction. I remember standing in my apartment, scrolling through my phone, mindlessly consuming nonsense, the buzz of distraction, the comfort of routine, until, suddenly, a sharp, violent pain shot through my chest. I staggered, dropping my phone, clutching at my heart as my breath caught in my throat. Panic surged, raw, animal panic. I collapsed to my knees, my mind screaming at me to move, to do something, but my body was failing me. In those final moments, something unfamiliar crept in beneath the terror. It wasn't peace. It was the horrifying thought I had never allowed myself to entertain. What if I was wrong? Darkness overtook me before I could answer the question, but the answer was waiting. I opened my eyes to a place that defied description. I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I wasn't in a hospital. I wasn't in any place I could explain with science or reason. The air was heavy, thick with something I couldn't define. The horizon stretched endlessly, neither bright nor dark, but unnatural, unsettling. I stood there, disoriented, feeling something I had never felt before in my entire life: fear. Then I felt it, a presence, powerful, unyielding, holy. I turned slowly, my heart pounding, and there he stood, Jesus Christ. But not the gentle figure from paintings and Christmas cards. Not the soft-spoken teacher from the stories I had always mocked. This was the risen King, the judge of all creation. His eyes, blazing with a fire so pure it seared straight through me, locked onto mine. In that instant, I felt my soul laid bare, exposed, stripped of every defense, every argument, every layer of pride I had built up over my lifetime. And I knew, without him saying a word, I was in the presence of undeniable, absolute truth. I stood frozen, trapped in a moment that felt like it stretched into eternity. My mind, the same mind that had always been so quick to dismiss, to explain away, to scoff at anything spiritual, now scrambled for answers, but there were none left. I could not rationalize this. I could not escape it. Jesus stood before me, and his very presence was overwhelming in a way no human language could capture. His eyes pierced deeper than flesh and bone. They saw straight through to the depths of my soul, to the core of who I was, beneath every pretense, every self-made argument, every mask. And what he saw there was ugly. He saw arrogance. He saw rebellion. He saw a lifetime spent not merely doubting, but denying him. I had been given time, years upon years of life, of moments when his truth had brushed against my heart like a whisper. Encounters with people who had tried to tell me about him, warnings I had dismissed, moments of quiet when something deep inside me stirred with the haunting possibility that there was more. But I had silenced all of it, and now there was no more silencing the truth. His gaze didn't soften. It burned hotter, brighter, unrelenting. I tried to speak, to defend myself, to offer up the excuses that had always worked in my life. I didn't know, I stammered, my voice barely a rasp. I thought it was all lies, just stories, fairy tales for weak people. His voice thundered, yet it was controlled, exacting, terrifying in its authority. You knew enough to mock me. The words hit me like a hammer to the chest. My knees buckled beneath me, and I collapsed to the ground, trembling. I could feel his holiness pressing against every part of me, revealing my corruption, exposing every sin I had ever committed, every word I had ever spoken against him, every sneer, every joke at his expense. He wasn't merely disappointed. He was angered, righteously, justly, terribly angry. You used my name to scorn, to lead others away from me. You hardened your heart at every call of mercy. My chest tightened. My thoughts scrambled. Memories flooded me, sharp and merciless. Times I had heard the gospel. Times I had felt something stir in my soul, but laughed it away. Times I had enjoyed the spotlight of cynicism, pulling others into my doubt, taking pride in being the voice that silenced faith in the room. I had not been ignorant. I had been willfully rebellious, and he knew it. Please. I tried to form words, anything to stop what I felt building all around me. The weight of his judgment was unbearable. My mind raced for an escape, for a loophole, for some shred of mercy. But deep down, I knew mercy had already been offered, over and over, and I had rejected it every single time. His eyes narrowed, filled with a terrible sorrow, but there was no pity, only justice. Your life was your decision. Your breath was my gift, and you used it to curse me. Your days were mercy, and you spent them in defiance. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum as the gravity of his words sank in fully. This was not a misunderstanding. This was not some mistake. This was the outcome I had chosen, day by day, moment by moment, through every careless word, every defiant thought, every proud dismissal. And now, that choice stood before me in living judgment. The King of Kings, the righteous judge, the one I had denied all my life, and he was not forgiving me. There I was, face down in the presence of Jesus Christ himself, my body trembling, my mind reeling, my soul crushed beneath the unbearable weight of truth. All the arguments, the clever debates, the smug dismissals I had once relied upon seemed so pitifully small now, so empty, so grotesquely foolish in the face of his holiness. There were no arguments left, only terror. My heart thudded in my chest, not with the beat of life, but with the rhythm of despair. My mouth felt like sand, dry and useless, yet I forced out desperate words. I didn't understand. I thought. It didn't matter. My voice cracked, thin and hollow against the immensity of his presence. He looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw not misunderstanding, but total, terrifying clarity. He had seen everything. Every choice I made, every moment I turned away, every time I could have listened, but chose to plug my ears and mock instead. His words were like thunder, rolled in sorrow and fire. You hardened your heart. though I called to you. You closed your ears, though I whispered to you in mercy. You turned your eyes away, though my glory was all around you. My chest heaved, panic clawing up my throat like a beast desperate to escape. I felt the suffocating pull of judgment closing in around me, a coldness that seemed to seep not into my skin, but into the very fabric of my soul. Still, I fought against the inevitable, like a drowning man flailing in waters too deep. Give me one more chance, I cried out, my voice rising in pitch, in panic. Please, if I had known, if I had truly known. But my words died in the air, useless, pathetic, because I had known, not fully, no, but enough to choose, enough to turn, enough to cry out for mercy while I still had life. And I hadn't. I had used every breath to deny him, every opportunity to mock him, every gift of life as a weapon against the very one who had given it. His gaze did not waver. You loved your rebellion more than truth. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to argue. But I couldn't, because I had loved it. I had cherished my independence, my freedom from accountability, my self-made throne of pride. I had celebrated it publicly and privately, enjoyed the applause of others who followed me into darkness. And now, I could feel the consequences of that love tightening around my soul like chains. The shadows loomed closer, and though I could not see what waited in that consuming darkness, I could feel it with every fiber of my being. A separation so total, so complete, it chilled me in a way death never had. It wasn't just death, it was the absence of God. And it was eternal. Please, I begged again, my voice reduced to a broken whisper. Mercy. His eyes, burning with justice, never left mine. And then he spoke words I will never forget, words that crushed every last, desperate hope inside me. Mercy was given while you lived. Now, justice is due. My body collapsed under the weight of it, my soul shuddering. No second chance, no last-minute reprieve, no escape from the consequences of my choices. The King of Glory had rendered his judgment, and it was final. The moment he finished speaking, it was as if the very atmosphere around me shifted. The air grew heavier, denser, as though reality itself was closing in upon me. My heart pounded not just from fear, but from the final, horrifying recognition that my fate was sealed. No more begging would change it. No argument, no pleading, no desperate bargain could sway the immutable justice that now weighed over my soul. I could feel the pull of the abyss behind me, a force that no longer waited patiently, but claimed me, as if it had been waiting my entire life for this moment. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't hurried. It was deliberate, assured, because it knew I belonged to it. Jesus, the one I had denied, stood tall and resolute before me. His eyes no longer pleaded for my repentance. They had once, long ago, when I still had breath and will. But now, they burned with righteous fury, unflinching in the face of the choice I had made. I had made this choice. It was no one else's fault. Not God's. Not life's. Not anyone who had failed to convince me in time. Mine alone. His voice cut through the suffocating weight of my despair, final and without hesitation. Depart from me. The words thundered through my soul, echoing like a sentence in an eternal courtroom where no appeal existed, no higher judge could be petitioned. These were not words of cruelty, but of justice. Perfect, irreversible justice. And in that instant, I felt something break. Not just fear, not just regret. Hope itself shattered into fragments inside me, never to be gathered again. The abyss surged forward. Shadows like living chains coiled around me, wrapping tight, yanking at my very essence. I screamed, not because I thought it would save me, but because it was all I had left. My cry tore through the vast expanse like a last howl of a man condemned, but it changed nothing. The pull was relentless. I thrashed, but I could not fight it. I pleaded, but no ear would hear me. I wept, but my tears were empty now, late, meaningless. As I was dragged toward the chasm of eternal separation, I caught one final glimpse of Jesus. His expression was not one of triumph, not of sadistic pleasure, but of solemn justice. I saw, in that moment, the depth of what I had lost. I had not just lost heaven, I had lost him. The very one I had spent my life mocking, dismissing, scorning. He had been my only hope, and I had trampled on it until there was nothing left but judgment. The abyss opened beneath me, vast and endless, a place without light, without peace, without presence of God, without anything but torment and regret. I plunged into it, consumed by the very fate I had chosen for myself. Forever. There is no lesson in this ending, no twist of fate, no second chance, only truth. I had lived as though there were no consequences. Now, I live with them for eternity. And the one truth that haunts me forever is this: I could have been saved, but I chose hell, chose hell.